I think there are different options before finding bigger square footage or finding a second location. Um, I think, okay, look at the real numbers in class. Can you do something that that gets you extra bodies in? Are your coaches being upskilled? Are they able to handle one or two people more per class? Because like you know, very often you get coaches go, no, my box, on principle we cap it at 10 or we cap it at 12 or something. Okay, that's great, but you capped it at 12 when you just come off level one. You didn't know shit from caramel. And now you've been coaching for 7 years, right? And you've done your level two, you've done your level three, you've got years of experience, you've had feedback from people, you've been in an environment to learn more, you've done specialty courses. You should be a better coach, 3 years after passing your level one than when you pass your level one. So shouldn't you be able to coach two more people per class, if you have the space for it, right?
Yeah.
If it's space, well then okay. Can you get smarter on your programming? Can you change? So we adapted some equipment. We bought, like, for example, the regional bars, the short bars.
Yeah.
So you get 20 centimeters less on barbells. All of a sudden you have 8 or 10 barbells out and you got 20 centimeters left. You may have a corridor, to do safely burpees or get the rowers out, and then you can start to change. So you can do stuff like that. And often when I'm talking to affiliates about this problem, because it's one that's becoming more and more recurrent, of like, hey, we're full, I'm getting complaints that they can't book, right? First off, it's a fucking good problem to have. Am I allowed to say? I'm allowed to. Yeah. It's a better problem. Yeah, it's a better problem than like, oh God, I can't pay my rent, or I'm gonna have to let someone go. It's a good problem to have. So don't lose sleep about it. Get excited. Wake up with a Woody in the morning about it. And so you said it was a relaxed podcast, right? So but jokes aside, be really happy about it, and then have fun with it. Go and try some stuff. The other thing I'd recommend is, if you're not ready to change locations, even if you are ready to change, think about increasing your prices for future members. You can grandfather in your old members. You don't have to increase your existing members. But if you're full, okay, well, hey, supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
Someone wants to come in at a 6 p.m. class and someone's leaving, and the guy who's leaving is paying $120, or maybe the guy who's coming in should be paying 160, and then maybe you don't need so many members and you can still please your older members and so on and so forth, right? So don't be afraid to increase your prices on the future members. And if they don't like the new pricing, they won't join you, but that's fine already because you're already full, right? So yeah, I think pricing is another one where box owners, sometimes we need a paradigm shift. We need a different reference point. We want to be often the cheapest in town. No, let's be the best in town. Cheap doesn't mean good. Cheap doesn't mean good value for money. It's not the best way to go. And I think until they see a box charging more and giving less value than they do, they don't necessarily have the confidence to increase their prices. You're going to have cash burn when you move to a new location. If you move to a new location, you're going to have cash burn, and you'll have things that you can't move for free. You can carry a kettlebell, but when you rip out your lockers or your showers and that kind of stuff, you're definitely going to have capex spend in moving into a new location. That will take you time to recuperate. So you need to factor that in. But also, when you move, you can think your members are loyal all you want. You move 800 meters, there'll be some people that just don't follow you. Move a kilometer, there'll be some people that don't want to go in that direction. It's just moving them that little bit further from work or from home or from their journey, that kind of stuff. So you will get some churn, right? And all the unknowns when you move location. Who are your neighbors? Who's your landlord? If you're not buying, there's an element of risk to any new location, I think. So I would look to max out your first location. Sorry, I'd look to max it out, and then in maxing it out, it means also oh yeah, we're maxed out, okay, but are you open on Sunday? Yes. How many hours? 2 hours. Well, try opening a third hour. Try opening maybe half an hour early in the morning, or closing half an hour later in the evening, getting one extra class in, maybe even just twice a week or something. Try doing an off-peak membership and see if you can't start to fill classes at 3 p.m. in the afternoon when you've got no class on. You can do various things. And you go progressively. It's not something you start your box out and you go, I'm going to do off-peak memberships. You don't need to when you start. You don't need to have that staffing cost on off-peak membership. Go peak memberships until you're packed out, and then when you're packed out and you start your class at 5 p.m., start a class at 4:30 until you can fill that. And when you start your class at 4:30, you'll be pulling people from the 5 p.m. class into 4:30, freeing up places at 5, and so on and forth. And then all of a sudden, you do that for many years, and you're adding 20 members, another 20 members, another 20 members, and all of a sudden you've got an extra 10, 15K revenue per month, and you're going, wow, this is a viable venture. Yeah, we spoke about this in Madison, right? You mentioned this in Madison, and I couldn't have been in more agreement than then. Absolutely, your real estate is your biggest cost. So when you say I'm going to go and get a second location, wow, measure twice, cut once, right? Because you're gonna be watering down your biggest resource is your human resource. Your most important resource is your human resource. If you've got a small, tight-knit team in one box and you're rocking that box, you are absolutely rocking it. Unless you're developing talent, develop the talent first, right? Even before you find a location, you should be overflowing with amazing coaches and people that are capable of operating a really good box. You should have your box manager, and you should have a second in command who's ready to jump into their seat or her seat, right? You should have a head of reception or a head coach and someone ready to jump into those seats. You should have an abundance of talent and really good coaches that you can't give enough hours to, and then go and open the second box. And then when you do that, and you take really good talented people from box 1, move them to box 2, you'll onboard some newbies in box 1 and you'll onboard some newbies in box 2, but you've got talent in both boxes. The worst thing you can do is transfer Craig Howard from box number 1 to box number 2 and leave box number 1 half naked, right? Yeah. And then the thing that's feeding box number 2 goes wobbly. And your new venture hasn't gotten to break even yet, and you've made the one that was at break even and making money a bit wobbly. And then maybe 3 or 4 years down the line, you go, oh my God, we made a bad decision. We're actually making more money off one box, and it was an easier lifestyle. We didn't have so many headaches. So for me, it's more about developing people than finding locations. Yeah. So in each box, we have a head of reception and a head coach. So there are 3 heads of reception and 3 head coaches. And I work with all of them. Amongst the heads of reception, I have one who's my ex-wife, Sophie. She's I'd say she's like a marketing and salesperson. She runs the reception teams basically. She coordinates all our communication, the training of our reception teams on how to take an incoming phone call, how to welcome a drop in, how to convert a prospect into a member, all the scripts that we have. We have sales scripts, we have incoming call scripts. We have how to overcome objections. I mean, all that kind of stuff that you take from a parallel business into the CrossFit sphere. And the head coaches, so they're full-time staff, but they only coach between 5 and 10 hours a week because the rest of the time is giving feedback and developing the coaches. Their role is to make sure that the service is as good as it can be. We have a 2IC, so a second in charge on the coaching side. And these people are being cultivated or grown to become the future head coaches. And my head coaches know that they can't get a promotion. They can't do anything. I'm not going to consider them for any other role, any other tasks with any of the other projects we do until they have a 2IC that's capable of stepping in for them. And that means even when we do a meeting, for example, down in Bordeaux, they come once a month to my place and we do our monthly meeting. The 2IC is running the box. If you don't have a 2IC, how can I take you out of the business to come and do the daily meeting, right? So it's in their interest. If they want to grow, they've got to grow other people as well. So for me, this is a people business. All business is a people business. Every business is done by people for people, right? But there's no business that's more people business than a CrossFit business. Yeah, a CrossFit box is the quintessential people location. There's nothing more that develops and touches a human being than CrossFit. So I think that the human beings who work in a box are even more important, and the investment, our R&D expense as box owners, it's not, Rogue do the equipment. We don't R&D the equipment. Our R&D expense is developing our people. Yeah, I'm lucky to be like you, Craig. I'm old, and and it means we've had a few decades to go and make some mistakes and learn from other companies and different industries and stuff. And I think there's the management of processes, but the hardest thing to teach is leadership, right? The processes are easier to reproduce, but leadership and how to capture someone's heart and mind, and for them to come to work not just physically but also with their heart and mind and with passion, is probably the harder thing to teach someone. We do it internally, so I've developed over the last I don't know, 12 years for the box, but before that I was doing it in a Globo gym, a leadership training, and so we give that training to our staff, even if they're not in a leadership role. So everything from personal goal setting to time management, to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, to the learning curve and how to take someone through changing habits, that kind of stuff. All those things we'll teach our teams. Why? Because actually, leading a team is very much like leading athletes and members. You know, improving your work team is helping them gain better work habits. Improving your members is helping them gain better lifestyle habits. So there's a lot of synergy there. So we actually take all our youngsters. When they come in already, they have a 5-day training before being confirmed. So they go into when you start, you go in observation, you observe, and then you come down to Bordeaux and you have a 5-day training with us down here, where we're integrating you into the company. We're doing all of that, and then we'll give you stuff to start reading. And so we have an ongoing study group. And I use that study group because when someone is interested and they start to study on their own, it's like, okay, maybe this guy's keen enough to want to step up at one point and stuff. And so the cream rises to the top when you do it's not a compulsory study group. It's anyone who wants to come on. It's once every 2 weeks. We read stuff together, stuff that's prepared. We come onto a call and we discuss it. And so we use Zoom for that. And from there, the cream rises to the top, and then from there we're going to start choosing our 2 ICs and our senior coaches and so on and so forth. So we have a whole development program, regardless of whether you're working at reception or in the coaching, and we expose that in the interview process to say, okay, well, these are the expectations of the role, but if you do join us, this is what you can expect if you stay long enough, right? You get past intern, you go to junior coach, senior coach, you go to future leader, then you go to head coach, and you go to director of training. That's the path for a coach. You can jump at any time. You want to open your box, you can go if you want. You're going to open a box. You want to be a head coach with us? That's fine. To here, and you can we've developed a pathway for the youngsters, but I'd say with selfish means. With selfish motivations, really, because you can only you need about 3 years to develop someone from knowing nothing about coaching to becoming a pretty good coach. I think there's a 1 year, as we said earlier, they don't know shit from Cowman in year 1. Year 2, they kind of start to understand what this coaching thing is really about, and then year 3 is where you can start fine tuning things. But for them to want to stay with us long enough, it's not just about money. You have to interest them with something. You've got to get them interested in a project, maybe in their own selfish personal development, and so that's why we have this career path, and we take them along there, and we pay them a little bit more every time they take a step up and that kind of stuff. So I think you need an HR strategy. I hate to call it HR because it sounds very corporate. We don't buy any programming. We use CAP as an inspiration. So all my head coaches are looking at CAP, and a couple of them actually analyze it. And one of the guys that we work with is called Elie Margerin. He's a flow master for CrossFit, and he's worked with us for coming on 11 years now. Wow. And he actually does a podcast in French, breaking down the last month's programming from CAP, and explaining it and trying to educate people on it. And so, the CAP programming is good, and the detail to it's good. The only issue we have in France, one of the reasons we don't use it is because 2 of my head coaches don't speak good enough English to really understand, all the intricacies of the videos and that kind of stuff. But they'll look at the workouts from there, and also your members. Louvre 1 is nearly 12 years old. Louvre 3 just started before COVID, and we were closed for nearly 2 years. So our members are maybe 2.5 years old. So in a box where you've got guys that are 11 to 12 years in, you may be doing things differently to guys that have got less than 6 months or a year and a half of CrossFit. you may be doing a little bit less of heavy days in the newer box, and taking them towards it progressively, and you need to change their mindset more and that kind of stuff. Also, our boxes, we've got 2 city center boxes where they're cash rich and time poor. And then we've got the one in Bordeaux is where it's not so wealthy, but these guys, they like to linger, and so the whole setup is very different, and it's more family orientated, and they can have more time, and so everything is slightly different. The reception space will be bigger, and people can chill out a bit more, and there's more coffee drinking. In France we like our coffee and that kind of stuff, and in Paris it's got to be in whiteboard, high five, welcome them in, boom, let's go, let's get it done. And then at the end, it's high, applause, and if there's a drop in, quick photo, that kind of stuff, and then they're off to the changing room to get changed. So the programming and everything, our processes are all slightly tweaked to the locations and the populations that you're dealing with. Yeah, I knew that we could scale. So I'd never planned to have a box of less than like 100 members, and all the boxes that I'd visited except for one. Previous to opening, were really small operations, like 75 members, or small. It was all relative, it depends what you want, right? But I was like, wow, actually, if you can take some processes from. So I was lucky enough to work in the global gym business, but it was a company that really cared about its teams, and they invested a lot in training their teams and staff. And it's like taking some processes from there and some principles from there, and just applying those processes, but bringing in the CrossFit methodology as the meal that you're serving, And I was like, well, if you do that, you can actually maybe scale up to 150, maybe 200. Look at what the rent requires. And Louvre 1, we moved locations in the first 2 years. We moved locations 5 times.
Oh wow!
Because we were being
2 years. Within 2 years, we moved it 5 times.
Well, the first location that I'd done the business plan off originally, we lost before we even moved into it. We'd signed the lease. We arrived on the Friday to move in on the Monday. So I'd moved up with the team that I'd recruited, including my ex-wife, and we'd rented a flat in Paris. We'd sold our house in Bordeaux. We packed everything into a container that we moved up to Paris and that kind of stuff. And then on the Friday, I called the agent to say, hey, I'm coming in to pick up the keys. And the guy goes, oh yeah, don't bother. I'm like, what do you mean don't bother? We're starting work on Monday. We got the demolition guys coming in on Monday. And he goes, no, I'm not going to give you the keys. I said, what do you mean you're not giving me the keys? Well, unfortunately the landlord has decided not to lease you the property. I'm saying they have to. We signed the lease. We signed the lease. We paid the deposit, everything. Yeah, they don't care. They're being offered so much by the other tenant to take your spot that you can take them to court. They don't care. So we lost the first location before even moving in, and I was like, shit. I renting a flat. I had these salaries starting. I had the building guys coming in on Monday. All my life savings were in this project, and I was like, far out. This isn't. It's like your rocket thruster blows up. You haven't even taken off from the launch pad. So that was my first business plan. Then the second location was a temporary location with a higher rent. I'm going, shit. We're going to need more members than I planned for the temporary location. We moved into that, and then the neighbors were calling. So we're in the city center. And the neighbors are calling the police every day, and we had the police coming in. And the day they tried to arrest my ex-wife was the day I was like, okay, we got to move from this place. We moved from there. I found a bank that had just emptied out, and the guy was literally putting the sticker for rent on the door, and he hadn't even finished patching the sticker that I'd typing the number, and I calling up and saying, yeah, looking for a location. When can we move in? And he go, oh, this is it. I was like, shit. That's an even more expensive rent. God, we're going to have to go and find some more bloody members. And so it just went that way. And then that location we'd signed for 1 year. So at the end of that, we went to find another location for 6 months and so on and so forth until I found the permanent location. And I'm like, wow, this is a serious rent. But we'd grown progressively over the 2 years. I'm like, well, we can do it. It's a reach, but we need to go and find another 150, maybe 200 people, and we can afford this rent. So I'd never planned on getting to the size that we are now. Kind of happened by accident, but I knew that we could. I had the background, kind of like you, Craig. I had the background where I knew that I had the people who had the knowledge and we had the paradigm to be able to do it. So I wasn't fearful at all. I just knew that we had to work really hard, and there was no plan B. Our life's earnings win this, and you either make it work or you go bankrupt, and then you end up being, it's like, shit. What do I go and do? Go and work building sites, or I have no idea. But this is the only plan we have. So we just have to make it work.
The one other thing I wanted to ask about too, you have, and I'll give them a plug, but I'm always curious because you guys, I feel like over the last 5 years, what's really interesting, CrossFit has been growing fairly aggressively in Europe and Asia too, but mostly in Europe, it's been experienced the most rapid affiliate growth. And it's almost CrossFit's the new kid in town and people want to try it. What's really cool is some of the stuff that you guys are doing is now being taken and put in place in the United States. For example, the affiliate gatherings, right? We weren't doing that. You guys were doing that. And I would actually look with envy when I saw, these gatherings where there was, 200 people there, which was, I know from back in the day when you get those affiliate owners together, it's an awesome thing. What is the one that's coming up is a coaches congress, which is not a CrossFit gathering. I don't know much about it. I just see that, I see the list of names that are going, and you guys get some great people that come and speak to those. What is the coaches congress?
It's a guy called Henrik Almers. He lives down in Spain, and he started it up in Stockholm a few years ago now. And it started pretty small, and it had a few coaches going to it and that kind of stuff, and not just CrossFit coaches, but from different facets of the fitness spectrum. And he charges coaches to go to this thing and meet different speakers and presenters, and they would do presentations. They'd also do physical workshops, so you could go in and do a yoga class or some stretching protocols, or re-education protocols. You'd have a physio come in and talk about certain things, or that kind of stuff. And I first went there in 2019. I was the bad news. So Greg Glassman was supposed to go and speak, and I got a call from Jimmy Letchford. Jimmy, and,
yeah, I do.
And Jimmy goes to me. He goes, "What are you doing next weekend?" I said, "Oh, nothing. I was gonna chill at the house with my son." He goes, "Do you think you could come to Stockholm with me?" I'm like, yeah, sure. You want to go and hang out? What do you want to do? Go visit some boxes? He goes, no, I'd like you to speak at the coaches congress. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And so he then, like, on the way there, he goes, oh, by the way, Rory's coming too. I go, okay, cool, Rory McKinnon, right? Okay, cool, yeah. That's pretty cool. We'll have a good time, and Rory's speaking too, and all that kind of stuff. That's great. I said, yeah, but how come it's so last minute? And so he tells me, like I'd prepared this thing, and he tells me literally, like, I don't know, maybe like the day before that Greg was supposed to go, and Greg had pulled out, and that they hadn't told anyone at Coaches Congress, right? So we pitch up on the Friday, and this room is packed. It's the biggest Coaches Congress they've ever had. Everyone's there to see the founder of CrossFit. Everyone's there to see this inspirational speaker called Greg Glassman. And they go, okay, so yeah, next up, and obviously Henrik Almond is pretty disappointed. The guys running Coaches Congress are pretty disappointed, and they don't know how to break the news to these people that have paid money. They've traveled from all over Europe to go to Stockholm. And they go, ladies and gentlemen, CrossFit. And I go up, and I'm like, hey guys, I got some bad news and some good news. What do you want? What do you want first? Bad news. Yeah, so Greg can't make it. Like all the faces drop, like I'm doing it, it's a running joke or something. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Greg can't make it. And they're looking behind me to see if he's like behind the screen or something. Greg isn't coming. The good news is you've got moi, and here we go. Hey, jazz hands. And it was the most awkward 90-minute presentation I've ever done. So that was my first presentation at Coach Congress. But the guy, Henrik, he organized some good stuff. And so we haven't officially partnered with him, but he's a good guy, and he means well, and he's doing some good stuff. And so when we can, we go and present. So Carl Stedman's been, Rory's been, I've been, Gary Gaines, who was the GM for Jim, he went and spoke. Amelia, the country manager for the Scandinavian countries, she goes and she organizes an affiliate gathering around it. So it draws in some affiliates for their thing as well. So it's just working smart, and it's a win-win situation. But so it's different to a gathering because it's not just CrossFit specific. But they're being so successful in Scandinavia that they've expanded now to Berlin. So I'm going to one in December in Berlin. They're looking to do one in Australia. They're going to do one in the UK as well. So good luck to them. Hey, any education is good, right? And
That's right.
any inspiration is good. So
bringing people together, these affiliates together, gives them a shoulder to cry on and find out that other people are going through the same things I'm going through. But then it's also inspiring as well.
Well, the affiliate gatherings are huge. I'd say added value for the affiliates. And I was lucky because back when we started, first one I did was 2017, and it was like so I actually it's 2016. I wasn't yet country manager for France. I just knew all the affiliates from France, and so I just invited them. I did a VIP lounge at the French Showdown, so the competition we organized. And I was like, "Hey, I want the affiliates to come. You guys come. We're gonna have a good time. We'll hang out. Maybe we'll talk shop a bit, but we can watch the gig together. I'll get you guys a coffee machine. I had my Nespresso machine from the house, and I'll get you guys some Fit Aids or Life Aids, what do you call it, and maybe some goodies or And it just started really relaxed. And they came up, got sunburn, watching the event in the Sunbench stand, and got them drunk with some cheap nasty beer, and that was it. That was the first gathering. And then afterwards, like they were asking questions. I said, "Well, maybe get someone in to speak next time." And so we got some speakers in, and it just developed from there without ever actually telling Greg or the team at HQ we're doing this. And then Dave Castro came to France February 2017 for the 17.1 to launch the Open in our box. And I threw him as like a surprise drinks in the basement. So I said, "Oh, come and see the basement." And as he opened the door to the basement, it's just the room is so low you can't push a bar overhead. And it was like there were like 40 people in there. And he goes, "Who the fuck are these guys?" I was like, "They're the French affiliate owners." And they can say, "What?
Right.
They've come to see me?" I said, "Yeah." He was doing his humble bit. So yeah, you kidding? This dude jumped in a 3-hour train ride. This guy's jumped a flight. This guy's driven 6 hours to come and see you. And we just got some drinks at the back, and we just had like a really relaxed drinks atmosphere. And Dave said to me then, he goes, "Listen, we've been talking about this with Kathy Glassman and with Nicole, and we're thinking of starting like some liaison, like where the English language isn't the first language, someone who can translate and make sure nothing gets lost in translation, sort of thing, would you like to do that for France? We're thinking of testing it in France, because you're kind of growing, it's doing okay." I said, "Shit, yeah, of course." He goes, "But you don't even know what it entails." I said, "Do you?" He goes, "No, not really." I said, "Okay, cool. Then we agree. We don't know what it means, but we're ready to give it a shot." And he says to me, "But you don't even know, what the conditions are." I said, "You don't accept a role like that for conditions or pay. You accept it out of honor. You're asking me to liaise with HQ on behalf of the French affiliates. Shit, let's go and do it." And then I came up with all these ideas, and they go, "Oh no, you couldn't do that one, couldn't do that. Oh no, you shouldn't really do that." I did them anyhow because they were on the other side of the Atlantic and they didn't know what the hell I was doing. And the stuff that worked, stuck with, and we've been doing it. And Matteo came into Italy as country manager. Nat Diaz came into Spain. Ollie Mansbridge came into the UK. Matt came in for Germany and Switzerland. Wes came in for Benelux. I mean, and so all of a sudden, and Ricardinho for Brazil, and all of a sudden we had this really tight knit group of cool. I'd say they're OGs from seminar staff. Most of them were old box owners, and we're just mates sharing stuff that worked, and then going out and doing it, and finding ways to do it with no budget. And it wasn't, I don't think an affiliate really, they don't necessarily want a free T-shirt, or they want to be part of something. They want to be part of a cool gang, and they want to be part of a crew of people like-minded people that are going through the same problems, and that can uplift them. And that's what it is, and it still is, and maybe there's a bit more branding now, and maybe there's some logos and some magic across it. I can see the magic across it behind you there, Jake. Maybe there's some more, some glitzy stuff, but the truth of it is, just some good fucking people.
I think that's one of the cool things about CrossFit itself and the people that are running CrossFit, especially the OGs, is there's some real humility there, and humbleness, and I don't think they really.
Sorry.
That's awesome. They don't really grasp how significant they are. and how much of a celebrity they are. I saw, Nicole Carroll, and I've known her for many years, but when I see her, I still kind of get, I get a little nervous around her.
A little starstruck.
Yeah, a little starstruck.
Okay.
And Dave too. Dave and I are friends, but I still I'm always like, man, this is Dave Castro.
Yeah,
and I gotta
the Dave Castro, right?
Yeah,
the Dave, the John Wick of CrossFit, right? Unkillable.
Oh my God,
comes back, resurrected, right? Resurrected.
Yeah. At the games, this year, Greg Glassman was up in the affiliate lounge, and he, people waited 2 to 3 hours to meet with him and get a picture with him.
And he's just the coolest. He's just the coolest dude, right?
Yeah, and it makes me happy to know that in Europe that is happening as well, because that is the fuel. I think that's the fuel that helped drive the rapid growth of CrossFit in the United States, and that it sounds like it's the same thing that's driving the growth in Europe as well. It's not only do they love CrossFit and what it does for themselves, but then they're looking for the personalities that, and they follow the personalities and see what they do.
Yeah, I think sorry, one of my son's cats is crashing the call. I think we mustn't underestimate relationships and personalities. And I think the key to all of this is people need to trust CrossFit. And so you need someone who embodies the, forget whether it's an LLC, is it a corporate, is it a company, is it whatever. The movement, the methodology which exists needs to be embodied by someone. And Nicole Carroll, Dave do that so well,
Yeah.
And I think so. Trust is the key element to wanting to be part of this. You have to trust CrossFit. You have to trust the people that represent CrossFit. And I think that was the issue when, with the tweetgate and the misinterpretation of Greg's tweet and all this kind of stuff. Some of the affiliates felt that there was broken trust at that point, or that sort of thing. And even when Dave got fired, there was a bit of hoo-ha around that.
Yeah.
Which time, the first time or second time, we don't know, right? How many times Dave's been sacked, but he just keeps bouncing back, right? The rubber ball that is Dave Castro, you throw him away and he comes bouncing back, faster and stronger than before. Right?
Think about yourself though, and I think about myself too. I don't know that I would have kept coming back, personally. Right? At some point,
there's a burning passion,
yes.
and even Nicole, Nicole went through a lot of stuff,
Yes, she did.
The sale of CrossFit, all that thing, I think she was very touched by all of that, very much affected, and she's a very emotional being, which is why I think she's so popular, because she just radiates energy and I people like that get very affected, and I think she had a very tough time, and I don't think that most of us would have stayed the course, and
right.
And I think with all the change of leadership, and let's not fool ourselves, right? Shareholders are investors, and so there's a desire or a need to have a return on investment, right? That's just logical, right? And she and Dave represent an amazing balance. As in, yes, you can get a return on investment, but we can maintain the trust, And I honestly, I hadn't thought about it until we started speaking now. But I would I have stayed if they'd gone? I don't know. No. I mean, last year when Dave left, I kind of knew from day 2 or 3 afterwards that there was a big movement to try and get him back in, and that gave me hope. If he'd gone and said, "Okay, I'm out," maybe I would have gone, "Oh, hang on, my goodness," and I'd looked to Nicole, and and Nicole is going, "Well, if Dave's out, I'm out." I'm like, "Oh, wow, okay." So it's about relationships. It's about trusting people.
It really is.
I don't love the methodology more than I did last year or the year before, right? It's not the methodology is what brought me in, but the people are what keep me here, I think, without a doubt.
100%.
Yeah, you're one of them, by the way. Just like I mentioned that. I only met you a couple of years ago. I'd heard about you. Yeah. You live up to your reputation, mate. Yeah. I don't. I don't know that nice would be the word. I don't know that nice is the adjective. I've never heard anyone use that Craig
Yeah, he's
Howard
a
nice
nice
in the
guy.
same sentence.
They
How
say
nice?
they say the same thing about me coaching. I tell them, I go, "You're getting look. I set the bar really low for all my coaches."
I don't coach anymore because I'm too bad compared to the others.
Oh yeah.
I drag down the.
I do every once in a while. I do. We have this Masters RX Plus class, and I can kind of
Yeah.
speak freely with the Masters. But I'll be all the way on the other side of the class. I'll turn over and I'll see someone doing power cleans with a lightweight with muted hips, and I literally will turn, "What the?" and I will say, "What the fuck is that?" Wait, and they'll do the movement.
Hey, at least
I tell them you need thick skin, man, if you're going to come to my class. We're so the I guess the last thing to talk about, because I know you got to jump too, but the last thing I wanted to talk about was the growth in Europe. Do you see the growth in Europe, and especially as you mentioned, the shareholders and the private equity guys, is Europe continuing its rapid pace of growth, and do you see it expanding as fast as it has over the last 2 to 3 years? And what and is there anything that's needed in order to continue that growth? That's
I
a lot.
think yeah, it's a lot of questions, right?
Yeah.
Europe is still growing very, very well. I mean, this year net growth is just over 300, um, which is
300
solid.
plus affiliates. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah, and the main part of that growth is coming from France, UK, and Spain. The
okay.
main part of that growth. France is now the biggest territory outside of the US. Europe in total, when you accumulate all the European countries together, is only about it's about 400 or 500 affiliates smaller than the US, the whole of Europe.
Wow.
So I would expect Europe to kind of get on par with the US mid 2024, end of 2024 would be my guesstimate.
Wow.
Which is good, which is solid.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
amazing, to be honest with you.
we've really worked on. So we worked very hard on looking after affiliates as they came out of the pandemic. And talking to each affiliate, a lot of box visits. Our teams are out on the ground all the time, jumping in cars. If they're doing seminars on weekends, they might go in half a day earlier and visit a couple of boxes and speaking to affiliates. And so building relationships. And so it's mainly about the relationships, as we've already said. Europe's growing well. Other parts of the world that are growing well. So Brazil is bouncing back. Brazil had a really tough time coming out of COVID.
So Europe, just to continue that thought, Europe is growing faster than the U.S. It's catching the U.S. because U.S. has some attrition, right? So some affiliates are closing and de-affiliating and dropping off. So it's catching us. But the biggest challenge that those guys have is related to language. That CrossFit has only just started producing the content in the country's languages. So they've had to essentially translate or find people that can, do the L1 seminars, for example, that take and do it into different languages. Can you hear us now? Now he's gone altogether. And so despite that, like only recently has a lot of that stuff been published in the home languages. In Asia, same thing. And that is the biggest challenge for a multinational corporation to expand for the first time, especially with a people-based business like this.
And they only have 150 employees within CrossFit.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's the other part, right? Is they only have 150 employees. Can you hear us now?
I can indeed.
Okay,
back again.
good.
Sorry for that.
We were talking about the challenge. Jamie and I were talking about just covering the challenges of what it is to grow in Europe and in Asia, especially related to language differences and then training. Especially in a people business. But it's.
I mean,
go ahead.
The strength we have is seminar stuff, right?
Right.
They're these like human torches that are going out and setting bushfires, and they go out with their passion and you sit and define fitness for the first time, to a coach who's been coaching something he didn't understand for the last 5 years, and the smartest decision ever made was to translate the level 1 kernel, the manual, to have physical translators to verbally translate every sentence that's being presented in front of the whiteboard, to translate the tests. That was the smartest move to get international growth.
Yeah.
And we haven't done it in all languages yet. So there's still a few languages where we need to work on, but it's like Korean has just exploded. Why? Because we've got a Korean seminar staff. Wonu Lee and the guys out there. All these seminars are happening every weekend with between 20 and 40 people, and they've gone from 2021, when I took the role in January 2021, there were 120 affiliates in Korea. We've now got 360. And that sort of growth, you find 10 countries around the globe that have that sort of growth. Well, you can have another 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 affiliates, just from organic growth, just by doing the right things. And you're right, translation is one of the things, but language is not everything. There's also the cultural gap. So localizing content is not the same as translating content. And we saw that with the playbook, for example, the affiliate playbook, where it was written by some really smart guys in the US. But then when you're reading it, even though it's translated, a lot of the stuff doesn't make sense.
Right.
The stuff about real estate, law, people, HR, contracts, all that kind of stuff. It needed to be localized to make sense to a Portuguese guy or girl, or Korean or Japanese person, etc. So the international team spend a lot of time translating and localizing all the good stuff that comes out of the HQ team. And as you were saying, I think when I came back on, it's a global network, right? It's a global company and a global movement methodology, but it's actually a very small organization in terms of number of people.
Yeah, as we said, there's 150 people, employees across CrossFit. That's remarkably small.
Yeah.
I would tell you this, and it was something I tell my coaches, and I would tell anyone that's getting into CrossFit that is going to coach, and then maybe has visions of working within CrossFit or within CrossFit management, HR, or as a flow master eventually, or something like that. I feel like now is like one of the best times ever for coming in and having your sights on that type of career opportunity. As it expands internationally, there will be such a need for help and support and quality people. Speaking multiple languages is obviously a benefit, but I mean, I think there's just significant opportunity to support and or to have a career within CrossFit at many different levels and in many different roles.
Without a doubt. I honestly think, and we spoke about this in Madison. We've been around for a while, so we think, oh God, it's like, it's like a lifetime in CrossFit. We've feeling a bit, a few of the bumps and bruises and stuff. But I believe that CrossFit is in its infancy. Not just as a sport, but as a methodology, as a movement. I think we have to keep showing value to affiliates, obviously, but also I think as a box owner, as a leader, as a business owner, you sometimes need to stay the course as well, right? It's very easy to jump from one thing to there's another fad that comes by, and oh shit, oh my goodness, they're doing I don't know, high rocks or whatever it is. Oh, I need to go and do high rocks. What is high rocks?
Yeah.
It's a race. There's no methodology to it. There's no science behind it. It's an expression of your fitness, just like a Spartan race or something, right? So instead of jumping from one fad to the next, you find something that is an essential truth, that is fundamentally is like it's the equivalent of a Bible of health and fitness. Stick with it, stick with it through the good times and bad times, and I think there's something to be said about perseverance, and you'll always have a downtime.
That's right.
Those are the best times, because you reinvent yourself and you come back better than you were before. No downtimes. You get lazy. You get stale. So
it's not linear. Growth is not linear. And the other point I'll add, and just that's why I love the international expansion. CrossFit is a mature methodology in a very niche area that is the U.S. I would say elite or experienced fitness people. So people that have been in fitness most of their lives know about CrossFit. They've been in and around. They may have tried it once or twice, but there are so many people in our country that don't know what it is and haven't done it. And then globally, like virtually no one. I mean, we can say,
Not,
yeah, we've got, it's just, it's barely started. It's mature in a very
exactly.
small niche.
That's why it's in its infancy,
Yes.
and someone who doesn't understand the potential in CrossFit. I know that CrossFit is going to pay my son's college education. It's going to pay my retirement. Thank you very much. Right? Why? Because populations are aging.
Yes.
We know it, right? There's not a single person on the planet who doesn't need CrossFit, who wouldn't be a better person for CrossFit. But what percentage of the US population has tried a workout in their gym, has done a drop-in session or done a trial week or something? 5%?
Yeah.
Really? Honestly, maybe. Maybe the 20-somethings it's higher than that, or 30-somethings higher than that.
Yeah.
But we haven't understood yet how to package it in a lot of places to the over 55s, to the under 18s, to a community of overweight people, to the 42-year-old mother of two who hasn't been able to look after herself for the last 10 years because she's been looking after her kids, and all of a sudden she's got some time for herself, or she's gone back to work, and we need to be able to package it to these people, not just the 25-year-olds who have no fear of walking into a CrossFit gym.
Right.
Those are the early adopters. We've done that. The early adopters are done, and that's why in the US I really think that affiliate owners who understand how they can prospect and attract not just the early adopters, but the early majority, the late majority, how you can use the social influence of recommendations. Draw the spotlight onto your members. Draw your spotlight onto your 50-year-old plus member who's got a dad bod but feels absolutely awesome now that he doesn't have back pain. Those sorts of members, not the 25-year-old who works out with his shirt off. He's got his shirt off before he's even done a burpee. That's not interesting. And so if we learn to package CrossFit and talk to these different facets of society, these different age groups, you've got the innovators, mainly box owners 10, 15 years ago in the US, right? Then you've got the early adopters. They're your crazy members who would have driven 90 minutes to come to your box, right? Or 2 hours, whatever it is. And then you've got the early majority. And I believe that the boxers are now in that realm now of the early majority. But you've got the late majority, and then you've got the laggards. The laggards are the losers. They're the ones that everyone will tell them what they need. They know what they need, but they're still too friggin' lazy to do it, right? Okay. Let's that's a tiny percentage of the population, 10, 13% of the population. But we can talk to 87% of the population, male and female. We need to understand how to communicate to both. We also need to know how to communicate to parents about their kids. We need to know how to communicate to account members about their parents. We do that. CrossFit is in its infancy. And you'll have more box owners saying, "Shit, Craig, I'm maxed out, man. I'm thinking of opening a second location." That problem you came to me earlier. I really do believe in that, and that's why I'm very confident that CrossFit it's in its early days.
We're 17 years in. I'm 17 years in here, Diablo, and we have just now, only in the last 2 years, developed a teen program.
Yeah, I'm back again. Sorry. I was just saying about you putting your teeth in 15 years' time for your podcast, and saying, "Oh, Jay, do you remember back in 2023 we thought that the US was maxed out? Well, hey, now look." I honestly believe that the US is not maxed out at all. I think the team are working hard to regain trust. There's a great team. Chase is part of that team. Jen Green is running that. There's really good people there that care, and I think that they're building relationships. Affiliate gatherings are one part of it. Presence at events like the semis and games, another part of it. Phone calls and birthday calls and box visits are all tools to rebuild these relationships. And I think we have to be careful not to think that technology replaces that. You can quickly think, "Oh, I'll send a mass email and they'll get the information."
No.
That might add to, but it doesn't replace the relationship you're building. And what's really good is Don has understood that. Don and the leadership of team understood, and that's why they've put in place the US reps, is because they saw what happened internationally. And Don, one of the first things he did, he came out. We went to Brazil and we went to Ecuador. We went to New Zealand and Australia. And he saw what was happening on the ground there. He saw the relationships. He saw the worries that affiliate owners had, but the trust they had in the person they were working with. And he's like, wow, okay, this is a really smart investment to make, is to have boots on the ground, Yeah.
We relied on the competition side of things to provide that personal connection, and I think it helped fueled obviously the growth of the sanctionals, the sectionals, the regionals, and the games, because it brought people together, that like-minded people together, and we could share and do those things. That's in the U.S. We were relying on those, and now we have these gatherings that are proving to be so popular. And then it's also motivating affiliate owners like myself to get together with affiliate owners outside of the box, just on their own. I think that's huge.
I mean, and one of the most valuable things of the games, for example, is what we're doing up in the lounge, right? When we got, I think you were on a panel, right? The 10-year affiliate panel, and some of the questions and answers and the sharing of best practice. Wow, I would have loved to have, I would have loved to have been there in 2011,
Right.
and listening to you guys, and like, God, I would have avoided some pain. I would have had some better understanding, and yeah, totally. So the future is very, very bright. It really is, and even the reaction of the affiliate owners. Some were like reticent for a while, but I'm looking at, like, there's an affiliate gathering happening this weekend. I can't remember which part of the US, but there's like 250 affiliates going.
Oh,
Really?
love that. They're gaining momentum, right? So people are
amazing.
hearing back, right? That was once something Adam Knife or CrossFit Fort Vancouver. This is a guy that runs a very successful affiliate. He does not have to go to these things. He went. He said it was amazing. He loved it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
You regenerate that sense of belonging, that passion, reignite the flame, right? And I every box owner is like a seminar staff member. The human torches.
Yes.
You go and you grow your box. One wildfire at a time. You brush up your shoulder, have a chat about CrossFit, bring them in for a trial session, and that's how you're setting the world on fire with CrossFit.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go because it's 10:50 and you need some few minutes. He's going right on to another podcast.
Oh, are you?
I am indeed. Yeah, I am indeed. I got a young buck over here, who's unfortunately, I stood him up twice. I stood him up because we lost in translation on the times on the first one, and the second one I got double dated. Someone was sticking stuff in my Google Calendar, and I ended up in a meeting, and I come off the meeting and that's bizarre. Something's missing. I go, oh God damn it! And I stood him up twice. So I promised to do it. I promised to do it.
And they're done that. Where I'm like, oh, I think I'm supposed to be somewhere right now.
So, yeah, like at home. Well,
listen,
guys.
Thank you very much, man.
I know you sound this off and you close it down, but thank you for what you guys are doing. Right. You guys could sit back, and you could just like enjoy, and you could just like, you could be counting the money, you could be counting the money that doesn't jiggle, and all this kind of, and you're not, you got your feet on the ground. You're looking to share and help others. You're turned towards other people, which I think is what makes you guys good friggin' box owners in the beginning, right? To start with, is that you're turned towards other people.
Yep.
Yeah, even if, Craig, you can be a prick sometimes, you still turn towards other people, and I say all the affection, right, of from one prick to another, you guys are sharing a lot, and you don't need to work officially for HQ to bring value to CrossFit and to work for CrossFit. We all work for CrossFit. And I appreciate very much what you're doing. Thank you very much, from sincerely. And I look forward to seeing you, mate. I hope you're going to be around. I'll be out in the States beginning of October, and then I'll be up at the Rogue Invitational as well. I love that event. That's Bill and Katie, they put on an amazing thing over in Austin. So I don't know if you guys are going to that.
Yeah,
You're going to be heading out to that.
I'm going to try and make that event, so I hope to see you there.
Mate, then the ribs are on me. I won't say beer because I'm trying to give up alcohol, and keep tripping up on that one. But the ribs will be on me if you guys are out there. Tk you very much for your time.
Yeah, that'd be
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thanks,
you for your
Daniel.
time.
Cheers, man.
Take care, guys. Cheers.
Bye.
Bonsoir. I don't know how to get out of this now.
Yeah, we know how to fuck it up.
We'll close it out on our end.
We'll close it out.
What do I push? I drop off
Perfect.
when I'm not supposed to, and I can't get out when I'm supposed to. Thanks, guys. Bonsoir.
All right,
Take care.
cheers.